A diet rich in fruit and vegetables are very important for many reasons, and recently we heard maybe that fruits and vegetables may not be as protective in terms of cancer as we thought and reducing our risk of cancer, but they are very important for a number of different reasons. For example, they're naturally low in fat, high in fibre, low in calories, so they can really help us to manage our weight. We know an awful lot about fruit and vegetables and the vitamins and minerals that they provide, but particularly interesting would be the benefits in terms of flavonoids and other types of phenolic compounds that fruits in particular contain. So, the research is terribly important so that we really understand the role these nutrients play in helping to keep us healthy, I suppose, but also in the prevention of disease.
We've invited dietitians, food companies and people involved in the health professional industry to come today to discuss some of the outcomes of ISAFRUIT. The first part will deal with health and fruit and health, and the second part then is about getting better fruit for the consumer.
My role here is really just to welcome you to Ashtown. It's certainly a really interesting conference. I think in this type of research, especially in a small country like Ireland, it does involve major collaboration, critical mass and complementarity of facilities and expertise. And I think this is one example where we have the marketing, the nutritionists, the chemists, the biochemists, the biologists and the producers, of course, most important, all being part.
I want to talk a little bit about this 5 a day. It is the most successful food-based dietary guideline ever developed. The most successful. And most people associate it with strong epidemiological evidence from studies sponsored by the United States National Institute of Health and in particular the National Cancer Institute. But in fact that's not true at all. The US fruit and vegetable industry developed the concept of 5 a day as a marketing tool in the 80s. It was so successful in California in promoting the concept of fruit and vegetables that it was adopted on a temporary basis initially by the NIH, and it was so successful that they have continued it, and it's still co-funded by the food industry in California. So 5 a day was an ad man's vision, not an epidemiologist's vision. Avoid the tyranny of numbers. 5 a day might be a fine figure. It's a fuzzy feeling, it's a UN Millennium Development Goal. Don't let it annoy you.
Fruits are beneficial for cardiovascular health and may also play a role in the prevention or advancement of other diseases. Whole fruits are generally more beneficial than puree, which in turn is more beneficial than juice.
One of the other products that we've been looking at a lot are apple purees, and we've developed 3 different generations of apple purees. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about that work. We've also worked on some fruit smoothies as well. And then we've also, other partners and ourselves within the project have looked at ways in which we can process the fruits in a novel manner, process the products in a novel manner to preserve the nutrients that are in them. And one of the processes that we look at is high pressure processing.
You were saying it while you were talking there that you've got 2 different ways of increasing fruit and veg consumption. One is getting the people who eat it already to eat more, and the other is to get people who aren't eating it to start eating it. Where do you think the emphasis should be?
You've got to look at the dietary patterns and design your target around that. And you also have to look at whether or not you're going to be more successful promoting smoothies and fruit juices than you are in fruits. And that's where your consumer research will come in. That, that it may be wonderful to have 8 apples peeled in the morning, but boy, no one has time for that.
Moving on to this afternoon's programme, it's titled Fruit and the Consumer. We have an interesting lineup of speakers, and I think maybe some of the questions that were raised earlier on about, I suppose, insight into consumers, the knowledge that we have about what the consumer is saying from both maybe a market research perspective and also from people involved in retailing, and sort of in facilitating the supply into the market as well. We'll be getting views of a cross range of the panel, and hopefully that will provide an interesting, informative afternoon as well.
For the producers, shippers and marketers, they have to know the markets. They have to take into account the flavor besides color and size. If you go to packing house today, of any of the European producers, the machine that classifies, that sorts the fruit only sorts it for size and color. It doesn't take into account the flavor. We need, and this is technically possible, so we need an effort on also sorting for flavor.
What was the reason for eating more fruit, vegetables, salads or potatoes? And we could see clearly that, that it's the healthy eating, like the taste of fruit, and good value for money are coming through. These are excellent attributes to have in a recession.
Corporate social responsibility has become incredibly important. 2 years ago, it was probably the most important element of the fresh produce industry and the biggest challenge we were facing. Certain niches were emerging like fair trade, organics, the always important local produce. It's amazing what a recession does to that sort of focus. It has definitely gone on the back burner while still being there.
So our most important thing is, and what we base most of what we do is on what our customers tell us. And the most important things for us is safety, healthy, that it's in season, the price is right, the taste is great, will still look good when I get it home, and it's not just your packaging Tesco. It's produced ethically so that we're not actually exploiting people at the base to ensure we have products on our shelf, and a concern for the environment.
I think we had a very interesting day. The morning was about fruit and health, and I think we can take away a positive message for that, and that we can, health is an important aspect of food, and as I say, but it must be as part of a balanced diet as well. I think you have to keep that in perspective. This afternoon then, we went into the very complex area of the marketplace and consumers and so on as well. And there is no doubt it's an extremely dynamic area indeed.